If you're a returning viewer, you already know my name is Anton Vialtsin. Some of you know me as LAWSTACHE. I work here in the Southern District of California in San Diego, and of course you recognize the Southern District of California as being a border district. Of course we have the border with Mexico, and much of our cases in federal court come from the border. These are the cases that involve narcotics or immigration-related offenses. Since Trump took office, I received a number of emails asking me whether my work has increased since Trump took office in the last 2 months or so. Well, if you remember from about 5 years ago, I published a video dealing with a zero tolerance policy. You might already not remember, but during the first 4 years of Trump administration, the Department of Justice ran a zero tolerance policy, which meant that the United States Attorney's Office would prosecute just about anybody who crossed the United States border illegally, whether that had criminal history or not. Just about every person would be prosecuted. They would receive a few days in jail, depending on the crime. Then the individual would be transported to immigration and probably eventually deported. A lot of individuals had the expectation that the current Trump administration would sort of repeat the same process, that they would install the zero tolerance policy, but so far we haven't seen that. In fact, the statistics that now came out for January and February are somewhat interesting. We're not seeing the same increases in immigration-related prosecutions. So today, let's focus on the statistics. You know that I try not to be super political on this channel. Instead, we're going to be objective, and we're simply going to look at the statistics as they relate to prosecutions in federal court. If you're a returning viewer, you've noticed that I didn't publish a video this last Wednesday. I didn't have one, and I'll tell you a little bit of a secret. I'm an actual practicing lawyer, which means that if I have cases that I have to devote my time to, I will of course focus on my clients first. I am not a YouTuber. I don't see myself as one. Of course, if you click that subscribe button and eventually this channel grows and becomes large enough for me to sustain my lifestyle with it, well, maybe I'll start calling myself a YouTuber. But for now, I am a practicing lawyer, and so I'm focusing on my clients first and always. But that doesn't mean I don't care about you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting this channel. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to the podcast version of this recording on Audible or Spotify, please give my podcast a 5-star rating. And finally, if you want to support this channel, consider going to lawstache.com and check out some of the merch, including the Do Not Arrest This Person t-shirts, stickers, and some other items. Thanks for watching.
Quick message from LawStache. Are you charged with a crime? Or do you want to know your rights if stopped by police? Watch California attorney Anton Vialtsin discuss legal cases from the Supreme Court, Ninth Circuit, and California state courts on the LawStache YouTube page. Anton has handled hundreds of federal and state criminal cases, has an in-depth knowledge of the law, and has the best mustache ever. Subscribe to the LawStache YouTube page. That's LAWSTACHE.
All right, let's quickly discuss the latest statistics. As of March 9th, 2025, ICE has now been detaining about 46,000 individuals, which is the highest number we've seen since October 2019. But it is not the highest we've ever seen. It is actually much lower than what we've seen prior to the pandemic. Now, out of those 46,000, nearly half of them have no criminal history, nothing whatsoever. And the second half, most of those individuals only have petty offenses, mostly traffic infractions. So those are the people we're seeing there. The detentions are up, but it is my understanding that actual deportations are down. Now, this is about immigration, but my channel focuses on criminal defense and criminal prosecutions. So let's talk about what we're seeing in federal courts. I'm going to look at some of the notes here on the screen that I have. The latest available data from Justice Department shows that during January 2025, the government reported 3,196 new immigration prosecutions. This is according to case-by-case information analyzed by the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse, or TRAC. So this number is about 2.5% over the previous month. This is the slightest increase between what we're seeing now in January of 2025 versus December of 2024. So a very slight increase. Now let's focus on the chart that TRAC has developed. We're looking at January of 2010, and it goes all the way to January 2025. These are immigration-related offenses that are being prosecuted in federal courts throughout the country. Something to understand. All of the cases that begin in federal courts, most of them begin in magistrate court. All of your misdemeanors, felonies begin there with a complaint. The United States Attorney's Office would file a complaint against an individual, and that's how the case starts. Now, at arraignment, the individual might be charged with a formal document called an indictment, or informally called information. I have previously discussed all these different documents on my channel, so if you're interested procedurally how federal court works, just look at those videos and you'll have a better understanding. The reason why we're focusing on the magistrate court is because most of the cases will begin there, and if it's a misdemeanor, it will perhaps stay there. If it's a felony, it goes to the district court. When we focus on the magistrate courts, it is easier to see immigration trends. So as you can tell in this chart, the vertical bars in this figure represent the number of immigration prosecutions that are recorded month-to-month basis, where the prosecutions were initially filed in the U.S. Magistrate Court and then transferred to the United States District Court, exactly what I just said. The superimposed line that you see above plots the 6-month moving average so that the natural fluctuations are smoothed out. So if you focus January 10th to about the 16th, we have, those are the years, 2010 to 2016. Those are your Obama years. Most of the prosecutions fluctuate there between 6,000 to 8,000 prosecutions monthly, and they kind of go up and down. Then in January 2018, we have a huge spike, and that spike goes all the way to 2020. This is your zero tolerance policy. This is when the Trump administration was prosecuting anybody who would cross the border illegally. And so that is the spike. Since then, we had the Biden era, and during that time, we have much lower prosecutions. They're slightly climbing up to 2024. And 2024 to 2025, like I said, the only increase has been about 2.5%, a very slight increase. TRAC has also provided the most common charges, and those are unsurprising. Re-entry of deported alien under 8 U.S.C. Section 1326. This is a section, again, I've previously discussed in detail on this channel, and it deals with charging somebody who has previously been deported from the United States. So most of these individuals might have prior criminal record, but at the very least, they will have another immigration offense on their record. And so unsurprisingly, those individuals would be first to be prosecuted if they come back here illegally. The second one is 8 U.S.C. Section 1324. This is transportation, harboring, or bringing in illegal aliens. Most of the time, these are the individuals who are United States citizens, or at least have some sort of immigration status, like an LPR status or something similar, because usually these people are within the United States bringing somebody either across the border or within the United States. And if you're going to get caught, well, you're the driver, should probably have at least some sort of status. And so statistically wise, I think most of these people will be United States citizens. Now, the third rank, the most common charge, is 1325. This is your misdemeanor charge. This is the charge that we saw back in the zero tolerance era. Misdemeanors are individuals who are coming in here illegally, not through a proper entry point, not like a port of entry, or individuals coming in at the wrong time when the border is closed or so on. And so, unsurprisingly, those are the most common charges. In terms of the most common places to be charged, again, unsurprisingly, District of Arizona, Western District of Texas, Southern District of Texas, and Southern District of California are in your top 4. Again, unsurprisingly, because Southern District of California, where I am, is a border district. So of course you're going to have the most cases here. So if we're looking at these statistics, I think we're now realizing that at least now we're in March, the difference between Biden and what Trump is doing in his second term is really not much difference between December and January of 2024 versus 2025. So the only increase is about 2.5%. A lot of people were expecting a lot more prosecutions, but we're just not seeing them yet. If this was somewhat interesting to you to learn about these statistics, please give this video a thumbs up. If you learned something today and if you like this kind of material, subscribe to my channel. Welcome to LAWSTACHE channel. If you're listening to the podcast version of this recording, which I assume would be much more difficult because you're not seeing the graphs, but if you were listening and if you like the content, then subscribe on Audible or Spotify. And finally, if you want to support this channel, consider going to lawstache.com and check out some of the merch, including the Do Not Arrest This Person t-shirts. Thanks for watching.